Hello and welcome to Know Before You Go for Epiphany Sunday. I'm Father Scott Steinkerchner, and I'm here at my brother's lake house in the snow, a few days away with a friend of mine to just be quiet with each other and with God. Always good to get away. So these readings we have, of course, there's a lot going on. I want to start with the first reading. It's from the prophet Isaiah, and it's used in the series here to set up for the gospel. But in this reading from Isaiah 60, it starts, "Rise up, Jerusalem, your light has come, the glory of the Lord shines upon you. Darkness covers the earth, but light shines on Jerusalem." And then it goes on, "Raise your eyes, people will come streaming to you. All the nations will come to you with gifts of gold and frankincense, proclaiming the praises of the Lord." You catch that for Epiphany Sunday, gifts of gold and frankincense, people coming from afar there. So then, of course, this one is people coming to Jerusalem because it's the best. And the whole world acknowledges the greatness of Jerusalem and its God. That's the tone of this first reading. So then let's skip to the gospel, which is Matthew. And of course, it's the three Magi coming. And remember, when Jesus was born, on the day he was born, the star rose. And these Magi from the east saw it. And they plan this trip and then come in a caravan from their lands. And they come to Jerusalem, of course, because it's the center of Israel and Judah. And it had to have taken them probably years. I mean, we think like 2 years in the storyline for them to finally find Jesus. So this isn't the story of Luke with the manger sitting in a feeding trough and that night the shepherds come. This is the story of after 2 years, finally people have arrived because they came from so far. But they stop first and ask King Herod, "Where is this new king?" And he consults and he says, "Oh, must be in Bethlehem. That's where the Messiah is to come from." And so Herod takes them aside and asks them, "So when exactly did this star come? And let me know when you find him so I can come worship him as well." We know that isn't what Herod wants to do with this newborn king. He wants to get rid of a rival. But the Magi then leave, and the star goes right in front of them, leading them directly to where Jesus is living. Because again, it's not in a manger, right? It's Mary and Joseph's house. But they do, and they open up their stores and they give Jesus gold and frankincense, as it's said in the first reading, and myrrh. Myrrh is an interesting addition there because it has two purposes. Myrrh was used as an incense in the Old Testament and in the New Testament that you use to summon the divine, to take your praises up to God. When you lit myrrh, it was a holy event, and everyone was drawn in to that holy, holy smell. So it speaks of the divinity of this child. But then, this is Matthew's gospel, but in John's gospel, Jesus is anointed in his burial chamber by Nicodemus and Joseph of Arimathea with 100 pounds of aloes and myrrh. It speaks of his death, of where this is going. And of course, Matthew's text has death in it as well. The murder the holy innocents. But here we have these Magi coming from the east. And I just want us to picture that for a bit, because then we'll really get what's going on here. They aren't pay to play with Jesus. They have nothing to gain by giving this foreign baby gold, frankincense, and myrrh. They didn't leave their business cards. Hey, when he's old enough to make trade agreements, come make it with us. No, it was their generosity that they gave this, just to give, and to spend 2 years to come there. You can think on the way they must have had lots of time to think. And at any time they could have turned back. What are we doing here? But they kept going. And I think that that's an important part of these readings, and certainly how I'm taking it these days when I have a day off, finally. Time spent searching, traveling, downtime, you might say, time in between things, is never wasted time, as long as you understand what it's for. Not in a rush to get there, but I'm on the way and I have time. And I believe in my purpose, but I'm not going to get there today. So I have time to spend today along the way, knowing where I'm going. You see how that's a very different thing that the Magi were doing. Now, the second reading has an interesting kicker that takes us in a different direction. It's Paul's letter to the Ephesians, and he says very clearly, this was revealed in Christ to us. It wasn't revealed in former times, but we know the Gentiles are co-heirs, members of the same body, and co-partners in the promise in Christ Jesus through the gospel. The law was given to the Jews, but Jesus comes for everyone. So unlike that first reading where all the nations will come up to Jerusalem to praise the God of the Jews and to praise Jerusalem by extension, and you could read the Magi ambiguously, no, they're coming because they're going to be part of the Jesus story. They're not just inserting themselves in. Everyone in the world is an integral part of this story, and they just already understand it. And so celebrate it with their generosity of playing their part, giving him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. We all have a part to play in this great divine dance, this unfolding of God's salvation of the world. It is for everyone. And we each have a part to play to make sure it reaches every corner. We don't have to rush all the time to make it get to every corner. We just need to keep in mind where this is going and keep walking that path unhurriedly to make it happen. That is a beautiful gift God has given us, to be part of this great plan. And that's what we celebrate with the Epiphany. The Messiah being revealed to all the world, and we can all join in that revelation. God bless you today in joining in that revelation.